There's something truly special about community-run events like this one. The passion shines in every aspect of the conference. Whether it be the speakers on stage sharing their knowledge, the organizers making this event happen, or the sponsors that help the organizers to make this event possible. But most importantly, you. You are the ones that make this conference what it is. You are the ones that are part of this community. Right here, right now, you are part of this community. Being a member of the community myself, one thing that I truly love is that I never feel like I'm alone. Let me tell you a little story. 4 years ago today, I was on a stage, a bit like this one. It was the first time I was giving a talk on stage. And I tell you, there was about 600 people, so more or less what we have here today. And like I mentioned, it was the first talk at a conference. And I was so terrified that I had so many different emotions. It was crazy. However, I was not alone. On stage, I had with me Sherry List, which some of you might know her, and she helped me get through this. The community taught me not to be afraid and that we don't have to be alone. Now, I've said the word community quite a few times already. It is a community talk, but still, I've said it quite a lot. So just so we're all on the same page, what I've decided to do is reach out to my friend Google and get a definition of what community means. And here's what Google says. 1, a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. 2, the condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. Now, I believe the second one is more aligned to what we believe a developer community is. However, I felt like it didn't quite encompass what I believe a community is. And I know that if I were to ask each and every one of you for a definition of community and gave you the same adjectives, you would all give me different responses because we see community differently. So for the sake of this talk, I came up with a definition. It's my definition of community. A space where people have a sense of belonging, where people share knowledge and have common interests. A place where people go to learn, a safe space. 8 years ago, I went to my very first meetup. I was just a junior developer at the time, and I remember going to this meetup with a lot of imposter syndrome. So I intentionally sat right at the back of the room in a corner and made sure I wasn't seen. But then the networking session happened. So I made it very, very clear to everyone that I was not a developer. It wasn't quite true, but I just wanted to make sure, I'm not a developer. However, everyone was very welcoming. And I felt like I could ask what I believed were silly questions. We all now know there isn't such thing as a silly question. So at that point, the community gave me this safe space to ask questions and to learn. And I want to give you that opportunity right now to have that safe space and to learn. So I think Derek did a little bit of the work for me. Thank you, Derek. You already introduced yourself to one another. But I do want you to continue that conversation just a little bit right now. And I want you to speak to one another. Find someone who's sitting next to you, give them a little nod or wave, and just tell them which community you're a part of. Remember, I already said you're part of this community, but it could be part of a developer community. It could be part of a meetup. It could be that you're a speaker, an organizer, a mentor. Just share that information with someone sitting next to you. I'll give you 20 seconds to do that. Please start. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're going to get a chance to speak some more in just a second. Because what I want you to think about next is how you believe you can grow within a community you're already part of or a new community. And I'm going to give you a bit longer for that. And as guidance, I have put up some questions here. These are just guidance. So have you ever felt like you cannot accomplish something, code-wise or other? Have you ever felt like you want to learn something new? Have you ever felt like you want to go deeper on a topic? And have you ever felt like you need to find a new job? Now, because I have a very soft voice, what I'm going to do, when time is up, I'm going to be up here and lift up my hand, and that means please quieten down. And I'm going to come in and listen to those conversations if that's okay. Now, if you don't want me to listen, just tell me to go away, and I'll go to the next person. So please share with one another how you would like to grow within your communities. Off you go. Thank you. You're doing the work for me, thanks. No, I'm joking. How did you find that? Was that helpful? Thank you, Sam. He's from my team. Okay. So I have been hearing that a few of you want to grow a bit more within your communities, or you want to join new communities. So I think a good starting point is knowing what communities are out there. I believe a lot of you already know the Angular community. That's why you're here today. But there are other communities, right? There's React, there's Vue, and this is on a global scale. But then there's more country-specific communities like this one, like NGDE. Or even more granular, we can go city-specific, like NG Berlin. So you just need to find somewhere where you feel like you belong. And I will help you figure that out in just a second. However, I've been talking a lot about in-person communities, but there are a lot of online communities too. Now there's Twitter Spaces, TikTok, whatever meets your needs. There's so much opportunity out there where you can go and grow. Going back to the questions that I just put up there, I want to share my personal take on each of these, so you can get an understanding of where I came from when asking these questions. So when we think about you feel like you cannot accomplish something code-wise or other, 7 years ago, I went to a PWA workshop because I was asked to to create a PWA, and I had no idea what it is. If you can find me in this photo, I know it's pretty small. You might be able to tell that I was the only woman there. There's about 70 people there. This sparked something in me. However, that day I did learn a lot about PWA. And the cool thing was that this specific meetup was really into it, so they kept doing meetups, there's a lot of talks, and I finally felt comfortable in the PWA ecosystem. So the community helped me improve my coding skills. Have you ever felt like you want to learn something new? I know that within the developer world, we're continuously learning. But there are different things we can learn. It doesn't just have to be coding skills. 6 years ago today, not today, but 6 years ago, might have been today, I organized a Rails Girls Galicia workshop. It was a weekend workshop. Remember how I said being the only woman as an attendee sparked something in me? I wanted to do better. That's why I organized this workshop. And thanks to Rails Girls, they have a lot of content that you can actually use to create these workshops. It doesn't have to be a whole weekend, but I was like, it's all or nothing, right? And it was really great. There were actually women attendees. I was like, wow, this is cool. I'm not the only one in Galicia. Galicia is like an autonomous region in Spain, for those of you who don't know. So the community taught me how to organize an event. Doesn't always have to be code. Have you ever felt like you want to go deeper on a topic? like there's something that really interests you, like web components, and you just want to go deeper into that topic? 5 years ago today, and for those of you who are paying attention, you might be like, this doesn't match the slide you said before, Anna. Let me clarify. 5 years ago today, I gave my first meetup talk. 4 years ago today, not today, I should stop saying today. 4 years ago, I did everything today, like just in, 4 years ago, it was a conference talk. That's the difference. So I was looking at what I could go deeper on a topic with. And I remember back then I was really into animations. So I was like, okay, what can I do, one, to grow the local diversity in tech, and two, learn more about animations? I decided that if I wanted to be the change, if I wanted to see change on stage, I would have to be that change. It starts with you, right? So I decided to get up on stage and give my very first talk. That, again, was terrifying. It doesn't get easier, to be honest. It just gets a little bit less terrifying. However, I learned so much through that process, and then I decided to start going to international conferences as an attendee. I wasn't like, hey, I just did a meetup talk, I can now speak on an international stage. No. I went as an attendee, I met fantastic people there, such as Martina, Derek, Sherry, so many different people. And Sherry is pretty like-minded, so she was also like, we have to be the change we want to see. And that's when we decided to give a conference talk. So if you want to learn something, go give a talk. It sounds terrifying, but it's not that bad. It's actually quite nice, otherwise we wouldn't be getting back up on here every time. Have you ever felt like you need to find a new job? Considering the macroeconomic situation now, especially within the tech industry, unfortunately, we're not in a great place. And I can imagine more and more people needing to find new jobs. 4 years ago today, I keep saying today. I got to delete that from my brain somehow. 4 years ago, the community helped me find my first DevRel job. How? Within the networking sessions, you can make really great connections with people. Through the breaks and the lunch, just speak to people. We're all here. I'll be at the All Zero booth, so if you want to come say hi, I'll be more than welcome. I'd love to meet you all. Not sure if I'll meet all 600 of you today, but you never know. So what I'm trying to say here is take those networking sessions and make sure that you're connecting with people, that you're making friends. I truly believe that some of the folks within the NG ecosystem are like my family, just because we have those strong connections. And in times of need, those connections come in handy. Okay, this is great. Like I just told you everything I've done, and you're just like, fantastic, and I'm happy for you, but what about me? So first of all, you need to find the right community. What do I mean by that? Let's go back to my definition. A space where people have a sense of belonging, where people share knowledge and have common interests. A place where people go to learn. A safe space. Let's take this sentence by sentence. A space where people have a sense of belonging. If you do not belong in the community, or you feel like you don't belong in that community, then it's probably not the right community for you. So how do you know if you belong or feel like you belong? Where people share knowledge. When I say people, I mean you. And it doesn't have to be getting up on stage. In the networking session, if you're not comfortable asking questions, replying to answers with people you are surrounded with, you probably do not feel like you belong. Have common interests. That might seem like an obvious one, But let me tell you a little story. I don't know how many years ago it was, unfortunately. I went to a meetup, a local meetup. It was a JavaScript meetup. And I was like, yes, I want to learn more about web components. So maybe I can learn more about JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript specifically, to get more into the web component ecosystem. Well, I kept going back to this meetup twice, 3 times, 4 times. And it was always about React. Now, I have nothing against React, just to make that clear, but it wasn't what I was looking for at that time. So I didn't feel like I had any common interest with the people there. So I didn't feel like I belonged. A place where people go to learn, a safe space. And I'm going to emphasize this safe space because that comes down to each and every single one of you. If you are not creating that safe environment, we are failing. And it starts by each and every single one of us. Be respectful, be kind, be nice. Otherwise, you won't feel like you belong either, and neither will the person sitting next to you. So you should ask yourself, are you in the right community? Do you feel comfortable being there and part of that community? Do you have common interests? Are you excited when new events are announced? I remember there was one community that every time they announced something on Meetup, I was like, yes, I get to go back. You talk to others about that community. Hey, look how cool NGDE is. You want to help the community grow. Now, if you want to see that community shine, you belong there. Because there's nothing like that passion that drives you to actually want to help to tell you that you belong in that community. So how do you grow, or how do you get involved in that community? And now I'm going to go back to my questions and give you some other ideas on how you can intentionally go out there and do other things within your community. Starting with, are you stuck on a particular problem? Network. Now you're going to hear me say network a lot because people underestimate networking, but it solves so many problems if we all just have more time to network. It can be in person, it can be on a forum, it can be on Twitter, it can be wherever you like. Don't feel afraid to go and ask a question. Back in that meetup that I went to, I pulled out my laptop and we started asking questions and started getting answers. And they helped me get unstuck. Reach out. Is it a specific thing that maybe the organizers might know how to point you in the right direction? Maybe they know someone within the community that knows about that thing that you're stuck on and might help you. Or maybe they decide that it's such a fantastic topic that they want to find a speaker to give a talk there. Do you want to learn something new? See what talks are in your area. There's a lot of content out there that's being given. Again, I talk about meetups because that's what I'm used to, but there is so much online content. There's James Quick at the back who has a lot of community content, so he gives a lot of cool things. There's always room to learn, and I know that we're constantly learning. Like every 6 months we get an Angular update, so we have to learn something new and implement it into our applications. But talks is always a good way. Again, reach out to the organizers. I would love to see this topic. I remember when I was organizing the meetups, I can't remember how many there were, but I was organizing different meetups, and I wanted to hear what the attendees wanted to see on stage. Because I could put up there all things Angular, but was that what everyone else wanted? I could talk about web components, get people to talk about web components, because that's what I was interested in. But how do I know that's what the attendees wanted if they weren't to tell me? So we do, as organizers, we do want to hear these topics. Again, it doesn't have to be coding skills that you're learning. It could be something like organizing an event or supporting an event. Now, I'm not telling you to go organize NG Denmark tomorrow. It can be reaching out to your local meetup and be like, hey, can I support you on this? I would like to understand what it's like to organize an event. And trust me, it's a lot of work. I bet you this weekend the NGDE organizers are going to be sleeping the whole weekend because this is a lot of work. Do you want to go deeper on a topic? I know I've talked about giving talks, but it's not the only way that you can go deeper on a topic. You can also create content around it. People who come up on stage do a lot of research before they come up on stage. There's hours and hours of work before this, just to make sure that what we're saying is right. And the same goes for a blog article. You're going to probably build out a demo to make sure that things work as expected. You're going to share the process of how that thing works by doing it. So you're going to become an expert on that just by doing either a talk or an article because you put so much time and effort into it. Are you looking for new opportunities? Did I mention networking? I'm not sure. Go network. I mean it. You're going to make friends this 2 days. I was going to say this weekend, but it's not weekend yet. These 2 days. And stay in touch. Keep those connections. Meet them at the next conference or at the next meetup. Beautiful things happen from the networking sessions. Again, reach out. Your local meetup might have a job board. They might know of a company looking. They might know of someone within the community who has a friend of a friend of a friend who's looking. You never know. And last but not least, make yourself visible. So this ties in nicely with the talks and content, but you can make yourself visible on social media. And when I say make yourself visible, I mean within the developer scene. If you're talking about how to make a barbecue, that's great, but it's probably not going to help you in terms of recruiting. So, are you thinking about starting your own community? It might be that you haven't found the right community for you in your local area. You're not comfortable with what's online, and you're like, yes, let's go start my own community. I love the passion, don't get me wrong. I think it's great. But before you go ahead and do that, let's just stop and think. You need to do some research. Have a look in your local area. Make sure there isn't a community like the one you want to create first. Why? You don't want to create competition. That's not a healthy thing, not within the same city. So why not go ask that meetup if you can help them? They'll probably say yes. We're always looking for help. Speak to others. Speak to, you know those friends that are just like, Anna, don't do a talk about that, that's rubbish. Find those friends and ask them about your idea. Hopefully they'll give you honest feedback. Bandwidth. For those of you who haven't organized a meetup before, it takes a lot of work because you can't just organize one. You have to do it on a monthly cadence for this thing to be successful. You have to find a venue. You have to find food. You have to find speakers. You have to promote it. It's a lot of work. And number 4, find allies. Find people who want to create this thing with you. And don't just find any allies. I had a meetup once, we were 7 organizers, and there was only one person doing all the things. Those aren't the type of allies you want. You want people who will help you with these things. So if you don't find a community where you feel like you belong, you can't start a new community for whatever reason, there are lots of communities online. Virtual meetups, forums, Discord channels, Twitter spaces, virtual conferences, and more. I feel like events like this, where we're actually in person, bring a lot more value, but they don't have to. Being on a forum where you can openly discuss a certain topic is a lot of value, as long as everyone creates that safe space and is respectful. So going back to my definition one more time, what is a community? A community is a space where people have a sense of belonging, where people share knowledge and have common interests. A place where people go to learn, a safe space. And I'm just about to wrap up. So if there's nothing you take away from this talk, can you please just take this one sentence with you? Never underestimate the power of the community. Thank you very much. I'm Anna Cidre. You can find me on Twitter at Anna Cidre.